All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. Bob Arum is thinking of taking Terence Crawford to the UK to fight because they can't sell tickets in the United States. At least that's my take on it. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And thank you to everybody that supports on the Patreon. We got a Dave Chappelle commentary on the Patreon. Check it out. Also, thank you to everybody that supports in the live streams that have been a lot of fun lately. OG Boxing Talk on Sunday with myself, KQKC, and Blood Boxing. Drew Titan will be on there if possible. Let's talk about the subject matter of this video. Now, it came out, and I do believe this is in the Independent out of the UK. Yes, it was out of the UK in the Independent. And it is entitled Terence Crawford and Oscar Valdez considered by Top Rank for UK fights after Vasyl Lomachenko's success versus Luke Campbell. Now, if that is true, my opinion, that is what you call an admission of defeat. I have not seen in a very, very long time a major championship fighter like Terence Crawford being taken out of his own home country over to the UK to start defending his titles because they can sell tickets for him there. Now, we all know, and I've said this many, many times, that the United Kingdom is the boxing fans in the United Kingdom. The real boxing fans in the United Kingdom are very avid. There are a lot of very avid boxing fans. They're very knowledgeable boxing fans. That is where the sport of boxing as we know it today was founded. And from everything that I've seen, watching it for a long time, other than the commentary that's going on in Sky Sports now, you know, for years and years and years, it was considered by me and many others is, you know, the best place to watch, the best commentary on fights because it was very unbiased, and you can also tell, or less agenda focused, and you could also tell that these guys really do have a very much a love for boxing. It's much more close to a primary sport in the UK than it is in the United States. But that said, to have a fighter like a Sugar Ray Leonard or a Mike Tyson or a Oscar De La Hoya or Floyd Mayweather Jr. have to fight over in the UK is something of an anomaly. And it's something, in my opinion, shouldn't take place if the promoters are taking care of their business. I've said this, and many other people have said it, I'm not alone, that Top Rank and HBO before that, their lack of a focus on American fighters is really not good for the sport of boxing in the United States because boxing is a secondary sport. And if you don't focus on American fighters and constantly put forward American fighters to the American public, how are you ever going to gain a big following for a fighter? Vasyl Lomachenko, for example, is an excellent fighter. He's a great fighter. I have no problem whatsoever with saying that he's the type of guy that could wind up, you know, eventually in the Hall of Fame. I'm not going all overboard with what Bob Arum is doing and trying to pitch this guy to American as one of the greatest fighters ever to walk into the ring. But what you see is that it's not selling. It doesn't sell to American fans like American boxers will sell to American fans. There's something that Eddie Hearn said in this interview, and when he talked about Vasyl Lomachenko, and I usually don't like to quote Eddie Hearn, but I think Eddie Hearn has a very good point here, or at least what he says is enlightening. He talked about Vasyl Lomachenko or Usyk, I can't remember which one of the two, But he's talked about how they believe that those guys can do well enough in the UK where they could sell them in the UK and they wouldn't even have to have a UK fighter fighting with them. So why do I think that that's an important statement? Because as is, Eddie Hearn is pointing out to the fact that you need somebody that is a local fighter or somebody that has a certain amount of name recognition and emotional connection to the fans that you want to see watch the fight. Right. And that's what you don't get with the way that Bob Arum is marketing Top Rank. You don't get that with Vasily Lomachenko. And when you put Vasily Lomachenko's second fiddle, when you put Terence Crawford's second fiddle or third fiddle behind a guy from the Ukraine and a guy from Great Britain, you're never going to really be able to push. You're not able to push your absolute best product in the American market. It makes no sense to me. Well, it makes sense, but I don't think it's the smartest thing to do not to push Terence Crawford as your number one fighter when you're an American company selling boxing to an American fan base. And you just, for some reason, don't believe that Terence Crawford is somebody that you can put out as the guy that's carrying your promotional company. I don't see Errol Spence Jr. or Sean Porter or Errol Spence Jr., Sean Porter, Deontay Wilder, and these guys having to go over there to the UK to sell tickets and to make fights that people are interested in. Now, all the stories that Eddie Hearn tells about, ticket sales and stuff, the Deontay Wilder only sold 5,000 tickets. First of all, that's some crap. But that is true about Tyson Fury in Las Vegas. But you can look at what goes on over when Robert Easter Jr. was fighting in Ohio. He had my understanding was 10, 11,000 people watching him fight in his own hometown, in an auditorium in his own hometown. I went to go watch Jermall Charlo fight, I think it was Adams in Houston. And there were 6,000, 7,000 people in a smaller auditorium for Jermall Charlo, but that was an exciting fight. It brought a lot of people out from the city of Houston to support somebody from the city of Houston. And I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense that you would have to take Terence Crawford, one of the best fighters in the world today. I personally believe he's the best fighter in the world today. Have to take him over there to the UK to sell him to UK fans, and Valdez too. I think Valdez, I'm not sure if Valdez is Puerto Rican or Mexico, but that just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for a competent promoter. And I'm starting to think that Bob Arum is no longer that. Bob Arum is consistently pushing guys to a fan base where he is trying to force feed them. All this conversation about Vasily Lomachenko being, the greatest pound for pound fight, the best number one pound for pound fighter, the best fighter since a young Ali. People aren't buying that stuff. It's been shown in Vasily Lomachenko's television ratings for years. He didn't when they were on Showtime, HBO trying to sell that. His numbers weren't much better than Guillermo Rigondeaux, a kid from Cuba who couldn't speak English at all. I personally think that, and I've said this before, that Terence Crawford really does need to look for a promoter that is going to feature him. You can look at what Bob Arum did with Floyd Mayweather Jr. and see that this guy, although he obviously has a very good organization in a lot of ways, like the matchmaking of his organization, I think is excellent, because his penchant for marketing is very good. He can say, let me put it this way. His manipulation of the media and getting them to buy along with what he's saying is obviously he's very, very experienced in that. But when you are now beginning to talk about taking a fighter like Terence Crawford and sending him overseas That's something you were supposed to have done with him in his early part of his career to get a belt, like what he did when he went over there with Ricky Burns. You shouldn't have to take him outside of the United States in order to make him a financially viable fighter. There's 30 million people, if 50 million people in the United States that would be more than happy to support Terence Crawford if they knew how good Terence Crawford was, because Bob Arum actually had and pushed the media to let everybody know that. But, that's too much like right. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.